Broadway, as well as a live show titled Dungeons and Drag Queens. I'm excited to welcome Paul Curry.
Thank you. I'm excited to welcome myself.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
I'm excited to be welcome.
What happened last night? I meant to come down to see. So you produced this show, Comedy on Broadway, at Jai Tai, and was it like the final showing, or what's the deal with that?
Yeah, so the deal is that the restaurant just immediately became under new management. I got a text 2 days ago that was like, no more comedy next week. Fuck. I was like, what?
And give people the context on what Jai Tai has been.
Yeah, so Jai Tai...
I'm throwing you right in, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. Jai Tai it's a Thai restaurant in Capitol Hill that's been a comedy venue for like a decade. Mm-hmm. And it's hosted an open mic, showcases, shows, and I restarted it after COVID. And I've been kind of running it and building it up. At its current state, it was an open mic on Tuesdays and Fridays and Saturday shows. But long story short, long-running comedy venue, super fun place, and just I randomly get a text out of the blue, no more comedy next week. And I'm like shocked. I threw my phone out the window. No, but I tried to piece together what exactly happened. And as far as I know, it's like really hard to get accurate information. I guess in the restaurant business, I don't really understand why things are so convoluted when talking to these people. But the restaurant's under new management, and the new management just doesn't want to have comedy. They don't want to spend any money on the bar whatsoever. And so I was under the impression that this Friday, yesterday, was the last night of comedy that Jai Tai would have. Mm-hmm. So I made a Facebook post to try and bring out a ton of people to try and show the new management that the mic could be very profitable and successful, you know, just to try and keep it running. And yeah, so yesterday a ton of people came out. It was like,
yeah, I saw the videos for it. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was like the most people that Jai Tai's seen in like a really long time. And we pretty much just had an open mic. Like I opened up the signups at 7 and just let whoever showed up at that early sign up. And then when a bunch of more experienced people came through, I would just like slot them in. Mm-hmm. I mean, it ended up being like a super long list. Yeah. We ended at like almost midnight. But
and so what's the final, is it done?
It's not clear yet, because I thought I would know, but then I talked to the management and he was like, yeah, there's a person named Larry, and Larry is paying for the electric and water, and I need to know how much Larry is paying in order to quote you on rent, because I was like, maybe we could rent the room, mm-hmm. as opposed to having a deal where we get like 15% of the bar or whatever. Yeah. And so I'm going to find out by Monday. Okay. But he did say that we could do a show on Saturday. So there is still a show called Cash for Comedy that Octavia is running, and that's on that's tonight. So thankfully we were able to get that show. At least one more day of Jai Tai comedy, but this might have been the last open mic. Okay. At Jai Tai on Broadway. So yeah.
I forgot to make this announcement when we started. If you are watching us on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe to us. Also hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. And I know this is kind of like inside baseball in terms of Seattle comedy, but Jai Tai is, I think, the second place I ever did comedy, and Tony V's, where like I run a room with Lil Q, is the first, and like both these rooms they're like very important to this community.
Oh, for sure.
And
yeah.
It's a like place for creative people to get together. And I mean, people come out regularly that aren't comics at all. And like, I mean, we go there to get stage time, but it's a very cool mixing ground for different types of people. And to just see it go away in that quickly. I mean, I meant to come out last night. I just was in fucking Arlington.
Yeah.
And wanted to come through, but it's just, I was hoping like you came in today and we're like, yeah, we won them over, but
no, I fucking wish. I mean, the problem with Jai Tai, and the problem with, just to make this more broadly interesting, I think the problem with most comedy venues that are maybe not clubs or don't like exclusively host comedy, as far as I know, they don't really operate under like the rules of logic. Like they don't follow the same rules that rational people do, where it's like it's usually not a, like in this case, like it's not even that much of a question of like how profitable is comedy. Like I guess in this case it's just like they don't even want to deal with the bar at all in any fashion, and with no consultation of anybody, just immediately cutting everything off.
Interesting.
And I don't know, like I don't know what the kind of logistics of running a restaurant are, and it can get pretty complicated, but it just seems so strange, and that it can be like, you can bring out just like 80, 90 people into a place that seats 60, have an incredible night, and then still have them be like, well, maybe we could rent it to you. I mean, I don't know. One thing I don't think they fully understand is that comedy built the stage and owns all the equipment. So if this falls through, I'm just going to take all the stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're not going to be able to rent that place out for anything else, because
it's just an awkwardly shaped. I mean, well, they'll have to repurpose it, obviously.
Yeah, they'll have to renovate it, which they could, and that's fine. But
This dynamic, though, I don't know if you've ever seen the documentary When Stand Up Stood Out. It's about the Boston scene, and they had this really famous Chinese restaurant in Boston where, what's that guy's name? Gold. He was in
Finger.
Blow.
No.
He was in Blow, and he does like a squeaky kind of voice on stage, and it'll come to me. But a bunch of these people, Stephen Wright, like that came up in the Boston scene, came out of this place, and it was like, I don't want to say like alternative comedy, but it just was like comics producing comedy, which led to these like really cool different styles of comedy, and you just don't get it other places. Like that's the benefit of having like comic run comedy. It's when there's a club, like I mean, you're working at every club in this area at this point. Like there will always be a different dynamic in play when you're working at a club, because you're inherently working for someone.
Yeah.
And what you can do, like, I mean, I don't think like I've had to deal with many people telling me what I can and can't do on stage, but like comedian run shows, actually it goes both ways.
Yeah, no, comedians have arguably sometimes more rules, but I think you're on the nose in that, like, your nose is on the pulse, on the finger of the nose of the pulse, that there's this different angle that you get from like alt comedy spaces that are not like, just
I don't even like using that word, because there's like a preconceived
like
idea
around
like,
that.
Yeah, like, because not just alt comics come out of alt comedy space. It's just like comedian run rooms lead to a different type of range and creativity, and like you can just pursue it based on what you think is funny and what a bunch of comics would think is funny, and hopefully you can get the front of the room. But like it's
this Jai Tai in particular is this really interesting middle ground between a dive bar show and a comedy club, right? Like it's right in the middle of there where you're still like really competing for attention. There's no there's usually not much of a guarantee that people are going to listen to you. Which breeds a certain type of comedy, I think.
For sure.
And then, but it's also not fully on the kind of dive bar side in that there still is this like, I don't know, like there's a lot of people. You could hit a lot of people. You can have a lot of people in your crowd, and you can like try out pretty interesting stuff there. Like the audience is usually pretty discerning in some ways that often dive bar audiences might not be. Yeah.
And there's an expectation of empathy. Like,
I tried to breed that. I mean,
yeah,
it's
but
a long
it's
mic,
been
but
that way since I've been around there, where it's been a place where, like, I've learned a lot doing stand up at that room, because I'm like, if I can get something to work at that room, I know that it should be all right for most weekend stuff. Like,
yeah.
Whereas, I don't know, you go to most dive bars and those people's taste are like, you can be doing offensive stuff, like really offensive stuff, and it work really well at a dive bar.
Yeah, because there's like just you're breaking through the noise, like the actual physical noise of a dive bar with your outrageous statement, and you pierced through that and hit people's ears, and then they're like, "Oh my god, wow, ha ha ha!" Because it's like you finally can get attention from very drunk, ready to laugh people. But they're just equally likely to laugh at their friend who's talking to them at full volume right next to them, right? So, but
it's a complicated thing.
Yeah.
We went straight into this, but like, when did you get into? You're originally from Iowa, right? Mm-hmm. I just asked you like 4 questions at the same time, but what part of Iowa are you from?
When did you get into Iowa? When did you fly into Iowa? I'm from Iowa City, Iowa.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like a university town.
Is it the Iowa State there?
No, that's University of Iowa.
I've driven through Iowa once or twice, possibly. It was extremely boring.
Yeah,
You're not much.
You're not gonna see too much. I mean, we kind of have like a cloaking device over our town. It's like Wakanda. It's Iowa City. So that outsiders can't see in, but and that cloaking device is just being in Iowa, I guess.
What is from Iowa? Like, is it known for anything besides farming?
I mean, do you consider
Isn't Slipknot from there?
Guitar Hero? The people who made Guitar Hero are from Iowa, so you know. The next time you're playing Guitar Hero, which I'm sure you are in 2022, I could see the calluses on your fingers, but it's the calluses of like a fake guitar, like not a real one. Right here, not like on the tip.
What was in South Park, the song that they all like wanted to play, the hardest song? Remember that?
Fire Through the Fire and the Flames, I think. Was the song, yeah. And then at the end, I think it was just like, "You're a fucking loser," or something was like the reward you got. Yeah. So that's from Iowa. Kurt Vonnegut, Cat's Cradle.
I didn't know
Slaughterhouse 5. He's from Iowa City. He did the writing program there.
Were you excited to get out of Iowa when you went to college?
Oh yeah, but more excited and just like, what is it like? I remember the first time I came to Seattle and I was just blown away by the fact that there was just city for like a mile. Like I remember just being in U District and being like, so there's just going to be city for that long. Like for like, I could keep walking and still be in city. Which,
had you traveled much prior to coming out here?
As a kid, yeah. Like my parents would go on vacation, and so they would take me around to different places. But then, like, once I got middle school through high school, I pretty much stayed in Iowa mostly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was a big, I mean, because I grew up in Minnesota, and I don't think I had been to anything quite like Seattle when I came out here. Like,
Yeah.
it was from multiple different levels. So, like, the city itself is like piercing how beautiful it is in certain parts.
Oh,
and, like,
yeah, definitely.
and just the water. I mean, like
The amount
like,
of water.
Well, it's just
incredible.
like being by the coast compared to be like just lakes and shit like that.
Yeah.
But also like the political leanings and like the social leanings and stuff. Was that a big shift for you, like coming out here?
Yeah, it really was, which was so interesting. Like I didn't expect it to be. But by the way, I want to confirm, like, should I be, am I okay to look at the camera? Am I okay to empathize with the camera, or like
Whatever
how do you want?
yeah, I'm weird with this. So sometimes I look at it, but like whatever's comfortable. for
Okay,
you.
I'll just constantly like
Yeah, what I
get best of both worlds. Could you cut out every other frame in the and then you can choose basically.
I mean,
Slow me down by half, cut out every other frame, keep the audio the same.
I think look at the camera and then look at me.
Now look at the camera.
Okay.
Old Spice or something.
Okay.
I
I don't know what to do. I'm not even
you know
gonna
how
be
it
the
be
one.
what it do.
What it,
Hell yeah. Fuck, pound it. Right here.
it's just
Hell yeah. That's what's up. So yeah, the the politics. Let's talk about the politics. Well, okay, so you know, Iowa City is a very interesting place because it's a blue bubble.
is it?
It's a blue bubble in a red sea.
Yeah.
And what ends up happening is
What
that
drives the blueness there?
the university.
Okay,
Yeah,
that makes
university,
sense.
Yeah. The
It's like
reading.
Madison. I guess Minnesota's blue. Is Wisconsin blue?
I don't know. I don't know. I think it would. I mean, like with every state, I would suspect that it follows a population density. Like the higher the population density, the more blue. Like as a very broad statistical likelihood, but I don't know. But at least in Iowa City, it was so there are big blue pockets, big reds, and so what happened was in the school, in like the high school, it was just like, you know, a mix. Like, so I guess when I came to Seattle, I was more used to this, I guess, centrist, maybe you could say, or more maybe tolerance of like more red right-leaning opinions. Like, not that I would like agree with the right-leaning opinions, but like it wasn't just like immediate hostility.
Yeah.
Because I was like, just that I think that was just the social
Norm.
I guess norm that I grew up in, was like, if you wanted to get along with people around you in West High, you know, you couldn't like just immediately like be I fucking hate you, because also you're just going to see that person all the time, right?
It's such a strange aspect of things too in the Midwest, like that, where it's so like to have the mixing ground of, at least at Purdue, like, because I graduated from Purdue, the top of my class.
Wow.
There was this influx of people from Chicago, and they were all like blue, but then they had this huge agriculture program at Purdue. So like there was a fraternity called the Farmhouse, and they had a Ford Bronco in the basement. Like they had cemented in a Ford Bronco, and they like would bring kegs down there of Natty Light and like party. But then at the same time, you had like a lot of these fraternity and sorority people coming from like Carmel, Indiana, which is a wealthier suburb. I think that would probably be more right leaning, but like a lot of Chicago people were very left leaning, and it was a weird mixing pot. Like I just remember being like we don't get it out here where like people like vocalize how much they hate the left side, but like it's always shocking to me now where like you hear somebody say like libtard or whatever. Like you're like, I haven't heard that, and like, but just it's a bubble out here, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, when you came out here, was it like shocking in any way for you? Because you were in school, like that's a whole bubble in and of itself. But like,
yeah, I think I was just like, so I first I want to say like, I don't know I don't know the optimal way to have a society. Like, I don't know what the right move is really in terms of like, should we converse? Should we like, you know, try and figure something out together? Should we take a stance? Should we die on our hill? Should we like, you know, make our issues, fight for our issues to the last breath? And, you know, like, I don't know what the actual correct answer is. So I just want to say that off the bat. But I think when I came to UW, from Iowa, you know, and especially like growing up like a gay teen in Iowa, I was just like,
you're gay?
Oh yeah, sorry, some context. So Jai Thai is a Thai restaurant full of it's gay people. Anyway, yeah, so I'm gay. Sorry if you couldn't tell. Too bad. Get fucked. Anyway.
Well, I wanted to ask about that. Like growing up in Iowa, what was that? Were you out yet?
I was out, kind of. I came out. My coming out story is so weird. But I guess, yeah. So the way I came out to my friends, I came out to a select group of people, and it was like the first time I ever did drugs. Surprise. It was also the first time I ever did drugs was LSD. It was like a lot of LSD.
Christ.
So I took a ton of LSD.
Why? Like, why did you start with that?
I don't know. I mean, I was like, let's cut out the middleman. Like, let's get to the real deal. I was kind of a wild child, not gonna lie. Kind of a bad boy. I wore sunglasses indoors. No, I didn't do that. I wasn't that much of a bad boy. But yeah, just outside. Anyway, and I remember like I was like coming up on these drugs, and then I overheard with my super acid hearing, I guess, as I was like in the bathroom, people in the living room being like, "Is Paul gay? Do you think Paul's gay?" I don't know. Don't ask me. Like that. Fuck. And then I came out and I was like, I wish I was in a closet. I mean, that would be the most.
Was it you hallucinating those sounds?
No, they were actually like, because at this point I wasn't like actually tripping yet. I don't, because
I've had the trip where you hear stuff and that's not there.
Oh, well, because their reaction wasn't like, what? It was like, oh, okay.
That's a fucking
cleared it up.
That could have gone really sideways, though.
There are so many things in my high school days that could have gone completely sideways.
Yeah.
I was pretty much like I was on the edge. I was an edge lord.
Really?
The entire time. Yeah.
Meaning, let's talk about it. I'm curious now.
I mean, I don't want to go into too much detail about my past, my mysterious past, but I was kind of like, you know, I don't know. It was so interesting. I don't know exactly why I did this, but I was kind of into drugs in a way, kind of like, you know, not like hard drugs, but like weed and acid, you know, not like cocaine and Molly and stuff like that. But I was into that sort of stuff. But then I was also like really into like school. Like I was really into like learning and, you know, stuff like that. So it's kind of like split.
You're fucking smart too. Like what your degree's in data science?
Computer science.
Okay. Yeah. So in terms of the people we've had on this podcast, much smarter than, I mean, Quinn Fitzgerald, like he likes to argue like he's smart, but
I can't believe he dresses himself in the morning. He's just, I'm just kidding. Quinn, if you're watching this, don't throw a dagger at me the next time you see me.
God damn it. That makes me so happy you think that too.
No, Quinn can dress himself, clearly. Not well, but no. Okay.
So you're into
Quinn,
school?
I love you. Yeah, you're an awesome dude.
You're into Quinn's school, but you're also into drugs and stuff, which is kind of, my story too, actually. Like I was a straight A student, but
also straight A. You know
like
what I mean?
I think like
7-gram rocks, banging them.
The
Charlie Sheen of Purdue. That's what they called you.
Well, like this was still in high school, and in college it was different. But
yeah,
fuck, man, I think I took mushrooms like 12 times in 6 months my senior year of high school.
Wow.
It was like 7 grams one at the time. Like it was a lot of them. So, but still got straight A's. So there
you go.
But what was your edgelord shit?
Well, okay. I think the shadowiest edgelord shit that I did in high school was that. So there wasn't like, it was very hard to get drugs in Iowa City, like weed, for example. Like a lot harder, at least, than I presume in a more urban environment would be. And this was around the time when like the Silk Road, was like a thing.
Oh shit.
And so I was like ordering stuff off of the Silk Road.
Can you explain
with, like, Bitcoin?
What that is?
So the Silk Road, it was like a website where you could purchase drugs like on the internet, and then they would ship it to you. And it was very popular in like the early 2010s and stuff like that.
Have you seen that Netflix series about the guy that started this?
Was it Ross Ulbricht, I think? And he's in jail now because he like ordered a hit on somebody.
It was something else. It was like Sparkly something, like like the name of the site was like, what were some of the websites for ordering drugs?
Well, at this time it was just the Silk Road.
Okay.
And
there's a Netflix series about this guy who he like set that whole thing up, basically. Not Silk Road, but I'll look it up and show it to you. But it's incredible. Like it was in the UK or in Germany, and he was moving like a crazy amount of drugs, like, and it was all through like encrypted messenger and like phones and shit like that.
I mean, that's how I basically stopped doing this after high school, like in college, and then post college, I was just like, I mean, also like the Silk Road went away basically. I mean, and it became a divergence of several markets that constantly get taken down. Like it's wild. It is a wild thing. But yeah, in high school. So like, in order to get like, the best weed, you'd have to get Bitcoin, and to get Bitcoin, you had to like find someone and trade it in person with that person. You have to like go up and be like, here's $40. And then they will give you the Bitcoin right in front of you. And then you have to encrypt your message, like 2010-ish, stuff like that.
So Bitcoin was already out then?
Yeah, Bitcoin's been out. Bitcoin came out in like, what, 2006? Something like that?
I remember somebody talking about it really early on.
Yeah, like it was like it pretty much exclusively used for drugs, I think. But which is another thing where like I probably held, I mean, not trying to brag because obviously I lost it all, but like I probably held upwards of like $500,000 in Bitcoin at certain points during this thing to just blow it on like Blue Dream, you know what I mean? So yeah, I was like this. So like I was.
So when they shipped it to you, where did it go to? Your parents' house?
Yeah, it just went to my parents' house. And
did you ever have any like? Did they ever catch it or anything?
I think maybe they did at some points. I don't know. It's unclear. I regret doing it, honestly. Like I don't think it was like, I don't think it was the right thing to do, to put, to ship it. So actually, no, I wouldn't always. I did it once or twice to like my parents' house. Mm-hmm. But then I had a friend who had an apartment, and I would just ship it to him. Yeah. Because I was just like, I don't know. It's just putting my parents in that kind of compromising position, and also it just increased the likelihood I would get caught and stuff like that. So
you never got caught?
No, not with this whole online drug marketplace stuff. No, I didn't.
Just this cash online.
Just like one time my mom came home, I was like baking a ton of pot brownies. Yeah. So that was like the biggest got caught. Also one time they caught me when I was on acid too. That was not fun.
Did I ever tell you about when I made weed brownies?
No.
I bought like, I think it was like $300 worth of weed.
Mm.
And my parents went out of town, and I did it right this time. Like the first time I made weed brownies, I did this stupid thing where like you put it into the batter, just like the raw flour, and cook it all together, and they taste terrible.
Oh yeah.
Like I did it. I mean, this was 2006, so like it was just whatever you could find on the internet on how to do it. But it was, we used the butter and like then strained all the weed out of it, and it was like green butter.
Oh.
Put it all of the butter, like $300 worth of weed, into a pan of brownies, and they were like the death brownies. Like if you ate one, you were gonna be high forever. And we were letting them cool, my girlfriend and I, and we went into my bedroom, and like I think we were hooking up or something, and I heard a noise, and I was like, that sounds like that's coming from the kitchen. Whatever, like we were distracted, and I come outside, and I had left the brownies like cooling. There was a corner chunk, like fucking huge corner chunk, just gone. And I run into my younger brother's room. I'm like, Austin, did you just eat one of those brownies? He's like, yeah. I was like, fuck. And he's like, what? Like, what was in those brownies? I was like, fuck. And then I like told him, and he was super straight laced. And
How
he
old
just
was
took,
he?
I think he was a freshman in high school, so it was, but just very straight laced. And dude, it was like,
If he was a cool freshman,
yeah,
would have been different.
well, I started with all that stuff when I was 13, so like it was
okay. Yeah.
for him, like he had never touched anything, and then he just took, I don't know how many milligrams of THC was in the piece that he ate, but it was like it was a small like plate size brownie.
Oh my God.
And he just killed it. And so the only thing I could think of doing was like running out to
killing
the kitchen,
him. I mean,
killing
if
him.
you're gonna die,
obviously.
it should be a pleasant death.
Killing him, making him throw up, or me just eating the same amount so that we did it together.
Go down with the ship.
The
captain goes down with the ship.
Dude, these brownies, I ended up giving them away. They were the worst. Like, it was, you've been high where like you're way too fucking stoned, right?
No, yeah. One time I got brownies off of the Silk Road, and me and my friend split them, and we just fell asleep, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, like, kind of like half sleep.
That's not a good sleep either, where you're like, you don't know if you're sleeping or you're awake.
Yeah. No, it wasn't even, yeah, it was just like, it just felt like every part of my body, especially my head, was getting pressed down. And then I was just like, I don't want to move right now. It's uncomfortable. It's not like fun.
Muscle relaxer, basically.
Yeah.
Like for everything. And then did you wake up still fucked up?
Yeah, I basically like a temporary frontal lobotomy. Like I was just like,
did you get the thing where you're like, I don't know when I'm ever going to come down from this?
Not really, because I knew how weed worked.
I thought I like the first time I ever made weed brownies and they were way too strong. I thought I was never going to go back. Like I woke up the next day, I'm like, I'm still, like it took a full like 24 hours. Yeah.
Huh.
So it scared the shit out of me, but
I could believe that.
So were you just buying weed on Silk Road?
No, I bought other stuff. I don't want to get into this too much.
Yeah.
At this point,
it's dead. I mean,
but I mean, this is like this was a decade ago, basically.
Yeah. Statute of limitations,
if not more. But like it was just, I was kind of like and I'm not saying this because I'm like, look at me, big wild boy, badass, because not really. I mean, it was kind of cool, and I think that partially that's why I did it, was because I was like, I'm a hacker, look at me, I'm trade Bitcoin. I mean, like, it's this weird like childhood desire to like push against the rules and the establishment and like be sneaky and stuff like that. And
were
just
you
the
already
idea,
like doing computer science stuff at that point?
kind of like I was Yeah, I was taking like computer science, but one thing that I think is potentially a misconception is that, like, for example, in Iowa City, there wasn't really a computer science track that was very easy to go. Like, there were computer science classes, but it was like you could take one, you know. Like, I feel like a school in, maybe I'm wrong about this, but maybe a school like here in Seattle where there's more of a tech scene, if you were like a kid in high school and you wanted to do tech, there were all these different, you know,
There's
classes
like
you
code
could take.
academies and all that shit.
Yeah.
Did you have anything like that?
No, there was just like one class you could take, you know, per year that would get, you would code in like, you know, Visual Basic or whatever. So I was kind of doing that, but
VBA is like the cheapest of the code, like the easiest of the codes.
yeah,
Right?
I guess it was, yeah.
Yeah, I did
yeah.
something with that at one point. But I'm always jealous of people that can like do any programming shit. It just seemed like, so you basically got into it in college then, or?
Yeah, so in college I went to UW because of the computer science program.
But you didn't know you wanted, like, did you just assume you were into it or what?
Well, my decision process, so I was like kind of a musical kid. Like I was like, meh, 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 you know, like always doing that. I just like when I walked down the hall, I'd be like, meh, nah, 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 nah. Anyway, you get the idea.
And
So
that just goes hand in hand with
that
computer science.
I mean, turns out a musical is just a program. You ever get a program when you go to a musical? You know,
Yeah.
you sit down, you get a program. That's code.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like you're being dishonest.
That's
with me.
Steve Jobs. You know what Steve, let me read a quote from Steve Jobs. Tomorrow. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Sorry. All right. Might have to EQ that earthquake
You
I just
just
caused.
ruined the episode.
All right. Boop. All right. And yeah, we're still recording though. So I was like a musical kid in high school, and I went into computer science because I was like, I was kind of into video games, but not really at that point. So I was like, yeah, video games are kind of cool. Maybe I could program those. And also, I felt that the world was kind of becoming more digitized and like everything was moving into like software and stuff like that. And I was like, man, like I feel like the people who are going to have the most power, I guess, in the new economy or whatever are going to be like programmers or like people that can like harness the technology boom or whatever. So that's why I went into it.
I think you've been pretty correct on that so far.
Yeah, I think that panned out pretty accurately to a good extent. I mean, I think I was a little more narrow-minded in the sense that there's also tons of other ways that you can like get involved in a successful money making / giving you more autonomy profession than just I'm not just saying learn to code, if you want to live but I don't know why I'm like fucking prefacing everything I'm saying with like a disclaimer. That's just how I talk.
I felt like you were about to plug Grubhub for a second there. Like there's a lot of different options out there, not just sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
If you want to promote their stuff, go for it.
All right. Grubhub. 100% mostly real meat, and grab it and go. Shove it in your face.
My uncle drives for them.
Sorry. Grubhub's great. Awesome place for uncles.
All family member.
Yeah. Get your whole family drive for Grubhub. Get into the sedan and start delivering.
Did you do theater at UW or like musicals and shit?
No, I didn't. I wasn't involved in the theater program at UW. What I did do at UW was improv. Okay. I was in the collective improv troupe. And then I became the director of the collective for like a year and a half at UW, which was not fun, but
yeah, it
was
seems
interesting.
Like something that would never end.
Yeah, it's kind of a nightmare. Yeah. I love improv. I really love improv. I'm actually going to get back into improv a little bit. I'm taking a bandit theater class
with Jesse.
I don't know if Jesse's going to be there, but
he was on the last episode. I had him do some improv stuff. He improvised from some freestyle rap.
He did a freestyle rap.
Yeah. Would you like to try too?
No, absolutely
Are you
not.
sure?
Yeah, no.
Okay, because
no.
that's the opposite of yes and
Right. I'm starting improv on Wednesday next month. So until then, no one can ask me to freestyle.
Okay. But next month, you'll come back.
Next month, have me back on the podcast. I will fucking freestyle for you.
You need to watch the video of Jesse freestyle. Like, everyone needs to watch it.
Is it good? I mean, does he hit those bars?
I've seen Jesse freestyle before. I didn't prepare him. I wanted it to be true improv.
True, right.
And it wasn't bad.
Good.
But for
It's
a
hard.
moment there, I was like, oh, this is going to be really terrible. And I thought he was going to make me cut it from the episode, but it was actually, it was better than I thought. It picked up steam. But
Did he freestyle rap about felonies he committed in high school, or?
no, but that could be yours, you know.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
You're already thinking about, these are preconceived bars.
Yeah.
So you did improv in college. When did you get into fucking stand-up?
Well, I got into stand up because improv, like, I really like improv as an art form, but I tend to not like the social dynamics of improv. Like, I was part of this collective, and the collective was like this really, it was like pretty much like the only improv troupe in Seattle, and they would have shows like every fucking week, and they get great audiences. Like, tons of people would come out, and so it was really cool. But then it was also like a very insular, almost like cult-like environment where everyone was like that's the thing about improv though. Like, you have to be so, at least this was what the group think was you have to be so fucking connected to these people. You have to be best friends, and you have to all think the same way, because otherwise, how are you going to do a scene together? Because like, you won't be on the same wavelength.
And at that age, especially, that is a very fucking, like, when you don't have context for what you're talking about right now, like when you're just 20 years old,
right?
And all these people are like, well, if you want to do your best, you have to be with us for every meal. And you're like,
yeah,
it's a very, at least for stand up with me when I started, like, there were a lot of people that influenced me a lot, that I was like, well, if I want these people to like me or whatever. And then as I got further along, I was like, oh, they're not funny. I don't care what, we're going to have difference of opinions, because like, I don't even think what they're doing is comedy. Like, that's something different. And I think when you don't have that context, or you're just trying to fit in, you look past some of those things.
Yeah, I think that I didn't catch a lot of red flags about my involvement. And so I became director, and then I had a bunch of these responsibilities and all this shit like that.
What was the worst thing you found yourself involved in?
Oh my God. There was
just like
so much fucking awful stuff. I don't even know. Well, let me see. One thing I will bring up as a good example is like, so I started having us take Venmo for our shows. And then we went to Fracas, which was an improv festival in UCLA.
How do you spell it?
Fracas. And it was like, the shirt was like a centaur playing polo. Fracas. We got a fucking standing ovation there, by the way.
Okay.
So we killed it, I guess. And we were at Fracas, and then my co-director is like, we're out of money. I'll handle it. I'll handle it. We're out of money, basically, to me. I was like, what do you mean? Why? And then she, they like announced to everyone that we're like out of money and all this shit like that. I'm just like, what? What do you mean we're out of money? How did we run out of money?
How could we be poor?
How could we be poor? We're at Fracas. Like, we're killing it. We're paying to be at a place. How could we lose money? And then it turned out that like, we hadn't transferred the Venmo funds into our account. So the account ran dry because most of our ticket sales were in Venmo.
Yeah.
But no one told me this. And then everyone just like assumed, like assumed that I had no idea what was going on, basically, which I guess was kind of true, but like they didn't like tell me what the problem was. They didn't even tell me that we were out of money. It was just like, I'll handle it. It's a problem. I'll handle it. And so then like, I don't know. And then everyone's like all mad at me and shit like that. And it's like, well, no, we just didn't transfer the Venmo. Like, look, we have a bunch of money now. But it was just like the groupthink was just so insane that it was just like, don't tell him.
Can I ask you something, just like a side note?
Yeah.
I mean, you work in STEM, and right, like,
yeah,
that field is known for having like strong compensation, things like that. Mm-hmm. Like, is it ever for you personally like hard to take seriously the like squabbles over money in these spaces when it's like people are fighting about like $5 or something like that? And
I mean, like, well, no, I mean, it like because I mean, I know that there's a lot of people that aren't that like, I don't make my living off of stand up. Yeah. So I know that there's a lot of people where like $5 is the difference between like eating, right?
Yeah.
So when I totally understand when people
do you
like
think somebody like if $5 is making the difference between you eating, do you think that person should be working a day job to supplement their art?
I mean, maybe. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's tough for me to like make an economic judgment about someone's life because I don't know all the parameters. Like, I
think it's a very like Western mindset to be like, oh, I'm an artist and I should be paid to support myself entirely through my arts. Whereas like, there's so many visual artists and so many musicians and so many other things that it's assumed that you have a day job. Like it seems like whatever, like when Netflix had this influx of stand-ups making money, it's just assumed now that like if you do comedy, that's your full-time salary and like you like you're supporting yourself off of that. Whereas like how many painters do you know that make all their money off of painting? Or musicians.
A single fucking painter.
Yeah, well then you need to expand your circle.
Yeah, I need to expand my square.
Do you get what I'm saying though? Like it's weird that in this space, it's like assumed that this is all you do.
I mean, I guess. Well, I haven't ran into the assumption. I haven't ran into the assumption that like, if you're doing stand-up, this is I feel like the assumption is still that you have a day job in stand-up. In my experience, like everyone I talk to, like, like it's surprising when people learn that someone doesn't have a day job. Yeah. That's been my experience. But I've talked to people as well in other art scenes who are like, this is a really interesting debate, right? Because some people say, to paraphrase straw manning these potential people, that like the economic system is broken and it's controlled by a select group of people that kind of dictate what the prices are of things, and thus like if control was given back to like the people or whatever in the economic system, the arts would be so much more valued. Like you could then make a living off of stand-up. Like if we had, maybe like, I don't know, for one example of many solutions, have the government provide grants to arts so that you could live off of arts, or you had a UBI so that you could pursue your artistic passions, like in a socialist country like Denmark or Norway or something. Is a lot easier to potentially be an artist because you have like UBI. And then there's another camp, I suppose, on the other end that's like, well, what these prices are is a reflection of what we actually value in a society. Like why is LeBron James paid more than a doctor? Like has LeBron saved lives, like actually like pumped someone's heart to save their life or whatever?
That's why all NBA players should be paid the same, obviously, because they all contribute equally.
I mean, well, some people are slacking on D. That's all I can say. I don't know fucking basketball at all, but slacking on D sounds like something you would say.
I would love to see that approach applied to the NBA specifically and see how the players respond.
That everyone's paid an equal amount.
Yeah, because it's a good example of like when you can actually quantify what they contribute on the court. Like they have the statistics that it's like
guess,
this model
yeah.
where you're like, okay, well, if we just paid everyone equally, let's see what happens to their production.
If they unionized, maybe they could do something like that.
I think they already are.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
There's a players union.
Just want to clarify, I don't know the economics of basketball.
You're talking shit about LeBron right now, and no, I don't fucking like LeBron very much. So
okay.
it's fine.
I don't know.
I actually I think it's nobody's been on to like talk about this, and I think like what you're breaking down is really interesting. I don't know. One side of it too is like, say you have the UBI, right? And there's like you can be an artist or whatever. Like, what are the standards for the actual production that you're doing as an artist? Like, because there's multiple. You're someone that's regularly out working on your art every night. I mean, how many nights a week are you doing this?
6.
6.
Yeah.
There are other people that are doing it 0, and they call themselves the same thing that they call you.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, probably. I'm sure, like, with, 500 million people in the U.S., there's probably several million
I can name
fuckos.
people locally.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Like, there are people that come to mind. So should they receive the same UBI as you if you're, like, under that category?
I mean, in the specific case of a UBI, probably yes, because that's what that's why it's called universal.
Yeah.
But this is another interesting thing where, like, so there's kind of the economics of value. Like, there's like how much someone is paid as a reflection of how much like we as a society value that specific thing. Like, just to dig further into this, because I think it's really interesting, and I'm sure that there's. Anyway, I'm not going to quantify anything. Oh well, if I say something ignorant, then oops. Okay. That's my quantifier right now. Yeah. Or qualifier. Sorry. Anyway, like, why, like, for example, why do tech people get so much money? Why do phone companies make so much money? And you could say that it's partially because we're in this like system that just, like, the government or people in government or people in big business, it's a select group of people that fucking love phones. And so they're dumping money into these phone companies. And, partially there is a lot of investment, but also everyone has a phone. Mm-hmm. Everyone uses a phone. Like, whether you truly care about a phone, whether you even think a phone is a valuable part of society, you still probably use it and interact with it. So it's like, but then how often do you go to an opera, right? So if someone at an opera is not paid as much as someone who works at a phone company, that seems kind of like, I'm not saying that's justified. I'm just saying I could see where that, like, why the economics of that are different.
Yeah, no, it's just market factors.
I don't
understand this podcast since we started it. And I don't know if you just didn't read up on it, but we've been dedicated to the opera, and you just destroyed them right there. So if you could apologize to every person that was negatively affected by the statement you just made about opera, it was ignorant.
Hey, YouTube. I just want to say, first of all, like and subscribe. Okay. I'll apologize in Italian. What is Italian for sorry? Do you know?
I don't know Italian. I know it's Spanish. You could do it in Spanish opera.
The opera requires, let's see, how do you pronounce this?
Spiacente.
Okay. Hey, YouTube.
I love that you used your phone to do that, by the way, after you just made the whole statement.
Okay. Spiacente. Is that enough?
I thought let's just see how long you can hold it.
Okay.
Right? 1.
Hey, YouTube. Spiacente.
almost made it a minute.
A minute of apology?
Yeah, that was incredible.
Do you think they'll accept that?
Was that like, how were you breathing?
I wasn't.
You weren't?
No.
God damn. Were you a swimmer?
No.
Huh. God, that was interesting. I did have a couple other questions for you about where did we end on that?
Well, we were talking.
The operette.
We were talking about. Yeah. So I did want to bring. I don't know. I wanted to bring up this another thing where like if you have, there's going to be one thing that's interesting as well about the art scene is that in general, the art scene is very, anti-capitalist, anti-hierarchy, it attacks structures and, systems of power and whatever. And is also probably the most cutthroat capitalist, power hungry, industry that I've interacted with, maybe next to the restaurant industry. Like it's just, and I mean, a lot of people call this out, but at the same time, it is just interesting that it's like, well, there's no fucking paid vacation time in stand-up.
No.
Yeah. So it's like,
also like, I think it's based in the type of people that you need to be in order to do that skill set. Like it requires a certain personality type where like there's a lot of people that would want the benefits of going up on stage and saying whatever they want, but like to actually be dumb enough to do that. Like I always think of like stand up is like, I saw this video of these guys on like trying to climb a hill, like the steepest hill ever climbed on a dirt bike, and it's nobody has ever gotten to the top of this, and it's just a bunch of these dumb guys that they get on it and they crank it up and they see how far they can go, and like it's this almost like stupid energy where it's like I'm dumb enough to think I can make it to the top, and most of them don't, but to see how far they get is really interesting. Like sometimes I see people going on stage and I'm just like, we have to be kind of like to be doing what we're doing, like fucking going on stage and putting ourselves out there like that. It's like you have these flight or fight reactions prior to being on stage and like adrenaline and all this shit. Like you gotta be kind of stupid and reckless. Like it's
you've got to be like incredibly narcissistic too, in a way.
That's something I fucking grapple with because I don't like that aspect of it. It's like in order to share your experience, you have to be that way, but I don't know.
I think you can justify being a person on stage talking into a microphone, without necessarily being like narcissistic, without you can be like, I'm here to entertain you. I'm here to say funny things for you. So it's not like I'm necessarily making some unequal proposition that benefits me. I mean, so
it's a weird like line too,
but it tends to attract narcissists.
Yeah,
I think.
For sure, and broken people, and damaged people. I mean, why do you think you're in stand up?
I don't know. I think it's definitely something to do with like external validation for sure, like getting validated by people outside of me, I guess. I think that like I've always been a little different, little one of them. And I've used humor as like a defense mechanism or a disarming mechanism to like navigate through situations. And so, that's, I think, where I get the humor part from. And also I'm narcissistic in the sense that I'm very, at least I think I'm, narcissists, they can be self-critical, right? I think that's a thing, maybe, because you're just very focused on yourself. Mm-hmm. And I think I'm very focused on myself. Like I'll be in a room or something and a lot of people will be going up and I will not even be like registering their set because I am solely thinking about what am I going to say? What am I going to do? How did I appear? How did I do? You know, I'm very like always thinking about, you know, and I don't think I'm a non-empathetic person. I don't try to hurt people or you know, damage them in any way or exploit them in any way. Like I always try and act like with as much, you know, integrity and virtue as I can, but I also am just often just thinking about me, you know. Often. Yeah.
It's a hard thing to answer too.
Yeah.
I think, at least for me, is the feeling of like getting that first laugh off of something new, almost to a fault. I think with me, where I'm like, I just hate repeating something. I'm like, to go up there and to do the same thing, to know that I can get a laugh off of this and to do it because it works, but not because like it's original and like I like the creating something that wasn't there before and is now there, like that's a really rad feeling for me. Like, and I think that's like the proving to myself that I'm funny is the most important thing. Like that I can do this and that I don't need, like everybody, as you do this, you have like a tool belt, and these are the moves you have and the tool, like the different bits and jokes and shit like that. But the guys that consistently just keep adding to it, those are the people that I like admire and want to like not emulate, like in terms of what they sound like or whatever, but their process and like how they're always just dedicated to being funnier. And it's, I mean, I watch you a fair amount, like you are kind of in that boat yourself.
Oh, thanks.
And if anybody's watching, like you need to go see Paul sometime. Yeah. He's very funny, and I definitely vouch for him. He does shows all throughout Seattle. What's the Dungeons and Drag Queens? Let's talk about that, and then we gotta kind of wrap up here.
Okay. Yeah. Dungeons and Drag Queens. It's a show. I started about a year ago, maybe. The format of the show is I'm a dungeon master. There's 3 drag queens. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. There's a live improvisational musician, Carson Grubb. He's next to me.
That's Nikita's buddy?
Yeah.
So mutual friend.
Mutual friend. Also kind of produces it with me. And he's playing backing music, and then we have a giant die projected onto screen, and then whenever the queens are trying to take an action or something, then instead of, you know, like rolling dice on a table, we just roll this giant die on the projector screen.
There's some social media stuff you got of it too, right? I've seen clips of it.
Yeah, you should. It's our TikTok is at DNDQ Seattle, so check.
There's some very funny shorts that you put up there. Is it the same 3 queens every time?
Not always. Okay. So, I mean, I've been kind of like, I don't have a method of like a rule algorithm for booking. I try and keep like queens that are fan favorites that people really like, you know, keep putting them on because I just know that they'll consistently do a good job and deliver. And, you know, it's also just fun to play with them. So, yeah, I try and keep like, you know, the same queens. You know, it might be, I've been doing it so often that it might get to a point soon where I'm like, you know, kind of, I feel like we've both played together a little too much, and let's like get
a little stale.
Yeah, let's get like just some new, because I mean they might be getting a little bored of the stories too.
How long does it take to play? I've never played Dungeons and Dragons. How long does a game last for?
So a Dungeons and Dragons game, like a normal Dungeons and Dragons game, can last for like 4 hours straight. But this show is about an hour and a half. And so a lot of it's cut down.
It's live, like you're playing the game, or what? How does it work?
Yeah, so we're playing the game. It's a little bit of a stripped down version of the game. So like there's no map. Like in the normal Dungeons and Dragons, there's actually a map, and you move little characters throughout the map. But in this game, it's all just theater of the mind. And also, There's some stuff like combat is changed a lot. Like normally in Dungeons and Dragons, combat is turn based, and then you like roll dice to determine damage and stuff like that. But the way it works in this show is that you just roll to see if you can hit the enemy or not, and then I do all the damage calculation and stuff. So
okay,
yeah.
So why drag queen? So like, what was this inspired by something in particular? Or did you just think it would like make for good live show, or like how did you come on this formula?
I mean, so like I met this drag queen. I met a drag queen, Varian, or Issa Man is her drag name. And so talking with her for a while, and then I had the show called D&D LOL, which was comedians playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to get like live improvisational music for that. And then, D&D LOL was going pretty well, and then COVID hit, and then I was like, just drag queens have this magnanimity to them, like this grandiose, almost royal presence. Mm-hmm. And they're like sassy, and they're sharp and witty, but also ditzy, and just like, it's just such an energy. And I was like, and then also just Dungeons and Drag Queens, because like, dragons, drag queens, like it just makes sense. And I also met Carson as well, and I was like, well, he could be the fucking musician for this. He's loose, he's down to fuck around. Like he likes jazz. He likes freeform jazz. He can, go into it. And I was like, let's do this show because it's like D&D LOL, but let's just try it with drag queens. And then the draw was like 4 or 5x really? D&D LOL. Yeah, it's insane.
Where is it now that you're having the show?
Well, if Jai Tai doesn't work out, it'll be June 23rd, which will be in Pride Week at the Hereafter in the Crocodile. So check that out.
It should be.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly when this episode will drop, but it should be before then.
Cool. And if not, there's a show on July 14th at Broadway Performance Hall. We're going to try and sell out a 300-seat theater.
Hell yeah.
So that'll be exciting. We were able to sell out Hales, which was 250.
Yeah, I saw that.
So we're thinking that, we could maybe at least break even in this new place.
What's the name of the social again, just for people interested?
Yeah, it's at DNDQ Seattle.
Cool.
So Dungeons and Drag Queen Seattle.
If you guys enjoyed this episode so far, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button, hit the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our content. If you got any questions or comments for Paul or myself, throw them into the comment section. Doing so helps us with the YouTube algorithm so we reach new viewers. Dude, thank you for coming on. This was a lot of fun. Is there anything you can plug for your personal stand-up or website or anything like that?
Yeah, there is. Oh, you want to hear it?
I would love to hear it.
My website is paulcurrycomedy.org. I couldn't get fucking .com.
That's so great.
Bullshit reason. Anyway, so it's my organization, and go on there and you can see a lot of the stuff I'm doing. And you can follow me on Insta. I'm at Paul Curry Comedy. Facebook, I'm Paul Curry. TikTok, I'm Paul Curry TikTok. See if you can find a pattern. Guess what my MySpace is. Fucking hit every button you see on your keyboard. I mean, just
help us.
Just help.
Anything you can.
Type in this code, X51167. The algorithm loves that shit. It's basically porn to the algorithm, that sentence. Not gonna lie.
For real?
No, I wish.
Oh, okay.
But there probably is. There probably is like an adversarial text you could generate
for sure.
That would get the YouTube algorithm to love you. Okay.
Dude, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun.
Hell yeah.
If you enjoyed the episode and you just listened, make sure to rate and review us. If you're on YouTube, follow the steps I just named, and hit the notifications bell so you don't miss our upcoming content. As always, follow us on Instagram at FNFpod. We're going to leave you with Jaga.
I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. I just make the waves, I don't write them. I can hear the lyrics in my spirit as I write them. Why you wanna walk and talk just like them? I can't get caught up in all the hype and the excitement. My wave pool, my wave pool. Welcome to 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 my wave pool.